I've been with the UN for nearly 30 years. I joined the UN in 1978, the World Food Programme. Within some 12, 13 years, became director. Later on, I was selected by the then Secretary General Kofi Annan to be his humanitarian coordinator in Iraq in 2002, July, to New York as the security coordinator of the UN, again at the Assistant Secretary General level. I retired in 2004. I've come back to Myanmar at that time, particularly during the Nargis disaster here.
Your humanitarian work experience would have helped in there very much. Can you please tell us more?
October the 16th, the first wave of problems in Mongdo. And soon after I arrived, I was co-opted by the authorities here to serve on the first Mongdo Investigatory Commission headed by Vice President U Min Sui. In that capacity, I have traveled very extensively throughout Mongdo and Buthidaung, visited very many villages. We trekked, we walked distances in order to get to the most remote of places.
That would mean that you are there on the ground firsthand. You would be able to see things that are evidence-based that you may also find the media may have reported in a different way.
It enabled me to do three things. I'm one of the few people, I think, that had traveled the region extensively, spoke to the villagers firsthand. I was also one of the 6 people on the commission that went to Cox's Bazar, met with the people there. That enabled us to triangulate what we heard and read from the people in Cox's Bazar back to the villages in Mongdo and Buthidaung, and able to cross-check and verify some of the statements that were being made by the people. I can give you an example, a report made by the South China Morning Post, which was in turn, I think, taken from The Guardian in England. And this referred to a woman who was reported to have lost her husband and 3 of her 4 children. And she gave it in some quite stark graphic details as to how they lost their life. She came from a village, Cheyobien. It was a large village, about 900 households. The villagers were very open. They were not scared. They were not shy. Speak very openly about it. This was in sometime in late December, so things were still very fresh. When it all started in around October 15th, 16th, the people did not flee. They did not go anywhere. They stayed behind. Over 70,000 people left for Bangladesh. There was an event that took place sometime in the middle of November that forced them to flee. We asked the villagers whether about this person. That was the subject of the interview by the Guardian. So we had a photograph of her that was reported in the press. Nobody have heard about the person with her husband. They had 4 children. We showed them the photograph. The photograph was the mother and the son. Nobody knew about them, not from that village. The kids were out on the grounds, went out there to meet with the kids. They showed the picture of the mother and the son to the kids else. But none of them seemed to know about it until somebody from the back shouted in their language and in other words, say that you know the person.
So when you say that somebody shouted from behind, tell them you know.
This is a 16, 17-year-old boy who was trying to tell the young boy in the front who's maybe 8, 9 years old, the same age as the boy that was in the picture. So normally they would be their playmates and they would know each other. But they said no.
you were not able to get evidence of the existence.
To buttress the story coming back from Cox's Bazar, this was a story that was written in the OHCHR's flash report about Tamaro members coming into this particular village, getting everybody to meet in the village square. They asked these 6 or 7 young women to undress and stand naked in the sun for a few hours so that everybody can see, and then rape them in public. It was in the flash report of OHCHR. Flash report, to those who might not know, was the group of human rights investigators who were dispatched by the OHCHR in Geneva to go interview these people who had just got to Maungdaw. We went to the village. The Maungdaw villagers are not shy, are not intimidated by us or by the soldiers. They are very open in what they say and what they had to say. So when we opened the discussions with this group of people, they said they came in so many times. They also took away our goats and our cattle. Did not pay us any money for that. They took away our motorbike as well and then abandoned it some distance away. They took it for a joyride, so we never got any compensation. Also, we heard a whole litany of complaints. But what was striking was that they made no mention about this incident in the village square, the way it was described in the OHCHR report. So he said, no, none of that happened.
Yeah. So what you've been talking about is something that is evidence-based. Evidence-based in the sense that people may say it is a commission made up of people like yourself, people from this country. But there again, you do have OHCHR in there as well. So my question is, in those sort of cases, media, when they are reporting all those information that were wrong, as media, they need to be ethical. Why haven't they brought up any sort of evidence-based information in order to support their reports?
I think the media, rather, most of them had been quite disappointedly one-sided and very biased. The Bengalis had marshaled and arranged how they were going to respond in every step of the way. For instance, they've got people in almost every important capital or major city of the world speaking to the press at that time. Secondly, the people who ran away to Cox's Bazar were able to arrange what they should be saying. We have first-hand knowledge and experience of this because we went to Cox's Bazar the first time around. So a number of those factors have contributed to the media as a whole responding very negatively towards the actions of the Myanmar government, Myanmar Tamaro. And whatever we do or say don't seem to make any dent to the situation. These who have made up their mind as to who did what, irrespective of what the actual truth and what the actual facts were. Most of our press releases, for instance, talk about the ARSA attacks on the police outpost. The 2016 attacks were a miniature opening runs, what happened in 2017. These people that attacked the outposts, most of them were not ARSA. It was the villagers from the villagers who were being marshaled, who were being mobilized to get out. It's the mullahs who had coerced them, and the ARSA elements who've been working in the villages asked them to get out and participate in what can only be described as a civilian uprising. When they attacked the outposts and the villages, they came in the thousands, literally thousands. They were coming to them in hordes, picking up whatever, and they were shouting at the top of their voices. What really happened was that this was an uprising. They got away the first time with arms and ammunition because they came with only one intention in mind. The intention was to get at the armory, get themselves the arms, so that this would have been the beginning of a massive uprising. Now this picture of a civil uprising with the Tamaro trying to suppress that action because they got away with arms and ammunition in order to recover them, never took hold. The press never got that picture accurately. All they said was that this was undue use of excessive force against civilians. It was not. We failed in getting our description across as to what actually happened and what the action that took place thereafter was. So we didn't even get an accurate press. We don't need a good press. All we need was an accurate reflection of the actual. We did not get that, and that continued to plague the characterization of the situation even now. I know more about the 2016 attacks better because I was on that commission, and that was looking at it for 3, 4, 5 months before we submitted the report. The attacks were led by ARSA, but they were not only attacks by ARSA. Behind them was the villages. Each village, each household was asked by the local mullahs, by their mosques, to make sure that they all participated in the attacks. So the attacks that took place were in the thousands of people. They were pushed and cajoled and coerced, forced by by ARSA.
So did that come out later on?
It did come out.
Inquiry?
Yeah, but I think our inquiry was very explicit that was the case. But here again, I go back. That was a very diametrically different set of circumstances, and yet it never got reported in the press. The actual fact was that in the first one, the attacks were in the thousands of people that attacked with all sorts of things that they could get hold of, in sticks, with jinglis, with whatever handmade weapons that they could get hold of. Plus, of course, they do have some guns and so forth. But it was a sheer mass of humanity that sort of attacked the outposts. Let me put it this way. I have a lot of sympathy. Nobody likes to be driven away from their houses. In the case of our Bengali friends, some of them feel they were driven. A lot of them sort of took a preemptive step of leaving. And this was apparent after the 2017 events. We know that there were already boats that were placed at the disposal of these people to leave the day after the attacks. In other words, they knew very well that they've done this because they were, I repeat, they were forced by the ARSA elements and by the mullahs to participate in this, something that can only be described as an uprising, as a rebellion. There is a lot of vested interests financing this entire, for want of a better word, enterprise to further the cause of these people, which I don't suppose we were prepared, nor were we ready for that. And we can't match the resources that they have put at their disposal. It's not just them. Many rich Muslim countries have invested into it, and that had made things more difficult for us in the various fora that we are currently facing. We are not over the hump yet. We are still very much in the midst of it.
So going forward,
This is it. I don't think going forward there is any magic formula to get rid of the problem.
I was going to ask you if you have any magic formula.
Yeah, I think that would be very good. I wish I have. People as a whole need to be very patient. They've been very good so far, and I hope they will continue to stay strong. And the State Councillor knows what she's doing. She's been very deliberate in the way that she has approached this. But it's very important. There are many forces that are at play at the moment. They need to be patient and follow. I say this because, and I repeat, we are not through with this problem yet. More is still to come, and probably worse things are still at play that we need to grapple with and get over it. But together we shall prevail.
So with that message of hope, thank you very much for coming on our show. Thank you very much for patiently explaining to us. So thank you.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for the opportunity for me to put forward some of the things that's been with me for some time. Thank you.